What is in the water that can't be killed by boiling? What is something most people don't realize is a privilege? Sanitary products for women. It's different in different parts of the world, plus economic backgrounds. Not to mention access to birth control. Literally life-changing and so important. Or general appropriate female medical care and access to safe abortions. Having two good parents. Hell, having one. Yep, I can attest to this. I have one shitty parent and one great parent. I'd probably be on the streets somewhere if I had no guidance from my one good parent. As a relatively new parent of two little ones, what made one parent shitty and one parent great? My wife is amazing. How do I avoid being a shitty one, or the shitty one? One of my biggest fears. Privacy. I don't mean digital privacy, I mean a room with solid walls and a door that closes. Lots of people don't have that. The apartments I work at are filled with people subleasing. I've walked apartments where the bedrooms have 6 people sleeping there. If they're lucky, they get to sleep in a closet or at least have a curtain covering. Is this legal in your area? That seems like a potential zoning or fire code violation. It's been happening in Sydney and Melbourne, Australia for decades. So many students, both local and international, plus people immigrating from overseas looking for a better life. These people are living 4 to 8 plus person conditions in 2-bedroom apartments in the central business district. Landlords put up flimsy wall dividers and people even pay money to sleep on the balcony in a tent. One day, there's going to be a fire. A big one. Only then, will something be done about it. Having people assume you are telling the truth. Holy shit, yeah. Trust is worth so much. Also, having people give a damn about what you say. Who TF asked is so goddamn annoying. Honestly, if a close friend would pull that, we wouldn't be close friends anymore. Even someone I barely know saying it as a joke, I instantly adjust my mentality on that person. I watched an interaction between a couple co-workers, and one jokingly each said, "Who asked you?" Like, there was enough venom in it that it didn't feel like a total joke. I asked the guy what he'd done to deserve that, like if they'd known each other for a while. He said no, they'd only just met a month ago at work. Now say it to me. Nope, we are done. You won't find me talking to you any longer. Out of interest, have you ever heard "who asked you" said by someone who had any respect at all for the person they were saying it to? I don't think I've ever heard it said where it wasn't clear, even if said as a joke, that the person nothing short of loathed the person they were saying it to. I'm thinking about time I've seen parents not liking their child's significant other and the significant other voices an opinion to be met by this expression. Colleagues who really don't like the new guy at work to the point of hating them, but was in a public setting so they had to put on airs, etc. If is never kind or playful in my mind. To have people around who can and will help. This has impacted me in so many ways. I didn't qualify for enough in student loans/government assistance because it was just assumed my parents were giving me hundreds a month in assistance, so that imaginary amount was deducted from my benefits. I'm not alone. This has hurt me so much. I literally got kicked out at 18 and live on my own. But because my dad earns 170k/year, I missed most aid. Apparently he is expected to give me 20k/year. Well, freak. Why is no one explaining this to you guys that you can and should have gotten it? I feel like school financial counselors are doing a piss poor job overall. You have to show that you are not financially dependent on your parents at all, and it usually means the parents can't claim them on taxes. Doable, but lots of extra work, and sometimes not entirely within one's control. Feeling safe in your own home. Not worrying about rats, mice, roaches, bedbugs, bricks being thrown through windows, violence outside, break-ins. I had bedbugs once. It was awful. Yeah, they don't do any physical harm unless you're allergic, but they have a massive effect on you mentally. You never feel like you're not being eaten in your sleep. I can't see the bedroom the same way anymore. I can't relax in my own bed. Had bed bugs too. Got it from work. It was awful. Got rid of half my stuffed animal collections. So many dryer loads. So many black garbage bags. Bug spray. Pest control. Sitting in the car with 2 cats waiting to go back in for the apartment. Spraying your car down. The people in the apartment below us had them and let it get real bad. I asked the exterminator guy about it and he said he wasn't allowed to comment on other people specifically, but that he'd been around a long time and had never seen anything like it. We eventually had to throw away all of our living room furniture, basically anything with upholstery, and our bed. We also had all of our possessions except for the bare essentials in airtight bags, and, because those fuckers can live for a year or more without feeding, we moved and lived with almost all our stuff sealed away for over a calendar year. It was difficult, but worth it because we would have broken down having to deal with them returning while we had a baby on the way. And on the plus side, when we started opening things up again, it was like 100 Christmases at once. Uninterrupted power supply. Hard agree. Whenever there is a major thunderstorm in my area, I always think please don't let the power go out. Losing power anytime sucks, but especially now when it's 90+ degrees Fahrenheit or 32+ degrees Celsius and 80% humidity. I live in the Phoenix area. If it's slightly breezy, I lose power. If it's over 110, I lose power. And if there is any lightning, you guessed it, I lose power. If there is ever any rain, I lose power. If it gets below 50, I lose power. I lose power at least twice a month. Having access to water and a sewage system. Also, the abundance of food in Western supermarkets is quite frankly insane. Every day I try and spend a moment to reflect on how lucky I am. Came here to say the same. Clean drinking water. From the tap. In the house. A lot of places in the world, even when they have running water in the house, it isn't safe to drink without treating it first. A surprising number of places in the US have this problem too. People in my town complained about how the water was making them sick and giving people cancer. The city's response: just filter your tap water. Having a vehicle. Driving in general basically. I had to go down way too far in this thread to find someone who said driving. Same here. I was surprised, but now I see that people really take motor transportation for granted. Depends where you live. Some places it's 100% vital to survive, others it's not needed at all. I'd love to be in a more walkable location. I personally consider myself privileged because I don't need a car. My job and the nearest grocery store are about 1.5 miles away, same with most other places I regularly visit. Only unfortunate thing in this is I'm in a rural area, so there really is no sidewalks, and I feel like I get a lot of confused looks because not a lot of other people bike or walk compared to how many who drive here. Would still love to live in an area with either better public transportation or something like sidewalks etc., but between ride sharing and Amazon, I am pretty much covered if I can't walk/bike where I need to go. I'm just really damn confused why people in the US act like it's their right to drive. I know so many old people that are a straight up danger to everyone on the road, but oh no, they might not get to their weekly game of bridge. I swear we need reaction speed, vision, and language tests every 4 or 5 years. Going about your daily life without seriously worrying about your physical safety. Sleeping at night without worrying about whether a bomb is going to come through your roof. Yeah, walking home at night and actually enjoying it, not worrying and looking behind your back. This is a big one. Coming from a country where that isn't possible, when I lived in one where it was, I couldn't shake the paranoia even though I logically knew I was safe. I'd walk fast, looking around to make sure nobody surprised me, Heart racing, sweating. For a 5 minutes walk to a local convenience store at night. To be fair, I live in a wealthy western country and I have feared for my physical safety almost every time I walk outside my house the past few weeks. There's a group of men down my street, always hanging outside and always hissing at me and screaming at me. One of them caught my hand behind me one time and refused to let go. This shit has been going on since I was 12. Of course there are countries where it is far worse, but for a lot of women most countries are to some degree dangerous, especially after hours. Yeah, when I started reading this I thought it was going to be about street harassment as well. Obviously I'd rather not worry about a bomb coming through my roof, but the idea that I can live my life with seriously worrying about my physical safety is laughable. There's probably only a handful of times I've walked around certain very specific parts of cities at night in Australia where I felt a need to feel concerned. But walking around various cities in the US, even the good ones, that simply does not feel safe a lot of the time. 1. Air conditioning 2. The internet 3. Flushing toilets 4. Hot and cold running water 5. Heat 6. Walls and a roof 7. Being able to sleep on a bed 8. Peace and quiet 9. The ability to sleep without doing that on edge, hyper alert half sleep. 10. Having 2 to 3 really good friends you can tell anything to. 11. The ability to read. It's the closest to witchcraft we have. Imagine having a paper-based product that contains the answers to many questions and the formula for improving your life. Then imagine being able to teach people the mysteries within. Then imagine being able to copy it, or pass it on so others can do the same. Your comment about reading gave me an existential crisis. I'm struggling enough with how are we aware of our own existence etc. But now I am also heading down the road of how are we able to imagine things that aren't actually there and how do we tell the difference between real and fantasy. We are just atoms. I need a drink. Clean drinking water. China is about to realize that in a decade or two, you can't drink the tap water in China now. I tried boiling it like the locals do and still always got sick. It's almost a running joke in the expat community that boiled tap water is drinkable. Never knew that. Is it only like that in impoverished areas or all around? What is in the water that can't be killed by boiling? Lead for 1. Having access to reliable internet in your home. In 2021 a lot of us assume that broadband is a given, that only the most rural and remote areas wouldn't have internet. At least, I did until about 2 years ago. But the reality is that at minimum 21 million Americans do not have home broadband access. And that number is based on the data from ISPs to be as skewed in their direction as possible. It's likely the figure is actually over 100 million. ISPs have zero interest in providing broadband service in rural areas and they don't update in low-income areas. In addition, they actively block efforts to create municipal broadband networks. Check out Chattanooga's broadband for an example of how effective they can be. Think about the past year and a half and imagine how much harder everything would have been without internet access, without having those resources and information. Households impacted by this are disproportionately low income and minorities. Children living in households without internet were at a complete disadvantage, compounding the already existing opportunity gap for marginalized students. Broadband needs to be treated as a necessary part of infrastructure. It's no longer optional in our world. Things like telehealth, remote learning, working from home, applying for jobs, accessing welfare benefits, these are all nearly impossible without consistent and affordable access to the internet. Thankfully, Biden included provisions for this in his infrastructure plan and it's at least a little less of a partisan issue, so there is a chance it could change, but it's really incredible how widespread this issue is. Did you know? The device you are watching, the application you are watching it through, the network enabling you to watch it, all of it is your privilege. Don't waste it. Like the video. I will see you in the next video.